stems. Okay, welcome to a tutorial, and we got a request to kind of break down some of this slow blues shuffle in C that I posted recently. So let's take a look at how it goes. Okay, so that intro, there's actually a video that I've done previously on this intro, and I'll address it quickly here, but I'll make sure that there's a link for you to check this other video out, which will more than likely go into more detail than what I'm about to do here. So okay, so it's basically a 1-6-2-5. There's a 1. There's the 6. There's the 2. The 5. Back to the 1. Right, so there's a look at it, but rather than try to recreate a video I've already done, I'll put the link for you to check that out if you want to see that and hear that broken down a little bit more. Let's see what else I got going on in this video. Alright, so the basic left hand, right? So that little, the flat 3 into the 3, right? If you're just doing a typical shuffle, you might just do this, which is, you know, it's all right. But I like to have a little variety in there by just doing those 2 notes right there. E flat, E, back to the shuffle, right? So the flat 3 and the 3. So if you're playing in another key, right, it's the same thing. You use the flat 3 and the 3. And then you could do it on the 4. Right, same thing. The flat 3 of being temporarily in the key of F, right? When you're on the 4. Back to the 1. And I'm not saying you should do it every time. I'm just showing you, right? So now when you're on the 5 in the key of G temporarily, there's the flat 3 of G into the 3 of G, which is B, right? So I don't like to do it all the time because then it just becomes too repetitive. I'm doing it all the time right here just to give you example, okay? But if you watch my typical performances, I do it sometimes, but I don't do it all the time. Okay, so let's look at the next part here. not saying I played it exactly the same, right? But for the most part, you're seeing what I'm doing there. So when you hear that, or I think that was an F, right? All right, so when I go to the G, you'll see I go up here to the flat 7th. I like to do that from time to time, right? Not always, but you do it as a little change up. Sometimes I'll do it in the right hand, going up to the 7, the flat 7, right? But not doing it in the left hand. And sometimes I'll do it in the left hand and not do it in the right hand. That's using it in the left hand. That's doing it in the right hand. Okay, so that walk up is very popular. I get a lot of comments on that. We just walk up from the 1 to the 4. So let's say so let's look at that walk up again. That's what the left hand's doing, right? This is just octaves. So on the first movement from the 1, the C, to the 2, you'll see that it's a whole step, right? You skip the D flat or the C sharp, right? You skip that and you just go right from the C to the D, but then after that it's all half steps, right? So just chromatic walk up. So if I'm let me just do it with the left hand one more time just to kind of point it out. And then what's happening in the right hand as I do that, so the whole step movement in the right hand happens at the end, where the whole step movement in the left hand happens at the beginning. So in other words, there's the whole step, and now it's half step, half step, half step. In the right hand, I'm keeping the octave stretch on these C's, and so this is the 3rd, right? The E. And then from this G to the A, that's the whole step. And that sets up the famous lick. So again, the walk up from the 1 to the 4. That's kind of how you do that. Let's look at the next thing. So you'll see in my right hand I do a lot of variations with rhythms, right? Just playing, just improvising, kind of like basic ideas, but just with different rhythms. So sometimes when I'll practice, I'll say, okay, if I'm just going to use these different elements, right? Like that's the C, that's the F, right? That's the bringing in the seventh, right? So the 1, the 5, and the 7 of C. So I don't know. I guess you could describe this as the 1, 3, and the 5. This as the 1, 4, and the 6. But I like to think of it as you're playing an F chord instead of the 1, 4, and the 6 of the C. You're playing an F chord in a different inversion, and now you're playing the C7, leaving out the 3. And so let's say those are the only notes you're going to play, maybe grazing off the flat 3 or even off of the flat 5. Sometimes I'll use them both. Sometimes it might be just one or the other. And you'll just play like how many different ways can you play using just those notes? So it's really hard for a lot of people. I think it was probably hard for me too when I first learned it, although that was so long ago I honestly don't remember. But I'm like, everything's hard for me at first, so I'm sure it was. Because, this left hand is like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so while you're doing that, you have to be like triplet, 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 and that's it's really hard to do slow. So that part I messed up. Yeah, so maybe you start to practice them one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's your triplet, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you have to be able to do that while you're doing this. See how I anticipate? Sometimes I'll come in or a pickup, right? let me just comment on, I think I talked about the famous lick just a little bit ago. And I have a whole video that's dedicated to the famous lick. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. But you can use that all over the place. So when you're in the 1, you would start on the 5. And even that can be played in so many different ways, like depending on where you come in with it. So like if you end up here, you started on the 5, right? So then look, I'm on the 1. And then as I go to the 4, I can just start right from here. See how it kind of like, it kind of took me there, right? So let's look at that again. Here am I on the 1. If I wanted to use the famous lick while I'm in the 1 chord, I have to start on the 5. And then if I want to use it as a way to get to the 4, I'll start on the 1, and it'll naturally take me up to the 4th. So it'll be, now I'm in the 4. And then what's cool is you can use it from this 5 to go to the 5. You could be like, by just going there. So, yeah, a few different ways to use the famous lick. So watch that video to get more. Let's say I'm just going to improvise over the blues scale just as a reminder. And I have a separate video that kind of is all about the blues scale too. So... So what is the blues scale? Again, without getting too detailed, because you can go and watch that other video, I'll just go over it quickly, right? 1, the flat 3, into the 4, the flat 5, 5, the flat 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 6 notes in the blues scale, okay? It's very bluesy sounding. It's very cool. And when most people that I've seen start using the blues scale, they use it, in a way that just basically is running the scale up and down without much variation, right? So, but then you see I kind of maybe do it a little change ups there just to kind of make it interesting. But if all you do is run it straight up and down, then it's pretty boring, right? So you try to figure out ways to make it a little bit more exciting. Sometimes you keep your pinky on the 1 and harmonize the notes of the blues scale. So I'm just, screwing around, running notes of the blues scale up and down, and then you find little patterns that you think sound good, and then you stick with that, or you just totally improvise, and whatever comes out is what comes out, which is kind of what's cool about when you're using a scale. You know, if you just hit any of the notes in the scale, it's going to sound somewhat good, but if you can find little patterns that really sound extra good, then you'll come up with something a little bit more exciting. All right, so anyway, let's see what else I do in this video. Here, you'll hear me get to the 4, and then I'll kind of walk down chromatically to the 2. So from the 4, 4, 3, flat 3, 2, and then more chromatic, ba-bump, right? The flat 2 into the 1. I have a video that breaks this down too. I have a lot of videos. If you haven't checked it out, maybe go to my channel, not just like a video that pops up in your feed, but go to my channel and scroll through all the videos I have. I have tons. I think there's over 75 videos now. And find the ones that pertain to what you want to hear. Most of my stuff is blues related. So this turnaround, see that in its basic form, it's just from the 1, the flat 7, 6, flat 6, 5. So after you jump from the 1 to the flat 7, that's a whole step down. And then it's just a chromatic walk down. And then I make it sound a little bit more interesting. I've always been partial to when you crush notes. Okay, it makes it sound so much more appealing, at least in my opinion. So there's times when, like even like that. So so like that. Instead of just playing these 3 notes like all together, or even one at a time, you can either crush those, or that. Now when I go to the flat 7, I might just play the 7, or I might crush those notes. You hear that? 1, 2, 3. So you're coming in 2 notes below before you strike the one you're actually trying to hit, and it's just a really nice sound. Oh, sorry. All right, so there's the walk up in thirds or sixths. So those notes, right, the C and the E, if I played them close together, we would consider that thirds. If I play them far apart, the C and the E, now we consider those sixths. Or if I wanted to play them as thirds. So you have these different options, and it can sound really cool. Alright, so there, at the ending, that was just taking that turnaround and turning it into an ending, right? So instead of walking up to the 5 and making it a turnaround, once you get there, then up to the 4 with my thumb, right? And then that's my chord in my right hand. There's a look at all the notes being played. So everything in the left hand, if you're trying to target this, you're looking at the 1 and the 5 of a C chord, and you just move those up a half step. So, and then when you are ready to finish, you just come down a half step. So now most of the right hand is only moving a half step, right? So I'm on the flat 3, and then I'm going to come down to the 2 or the 9, and then this will be the flat 7, so I'm playing of C, the 3, the flat 7, and the 9. Sorry. So these two notes only move a half step down, but this note's moving a whole step. It's going to go from here to here. You could play this with your middle finger instead of being on the C. It could be on the B. You could, and then everything moves a half step down. I like it with it on the C. It just sounds better to me, but you have options. So that was a look at breaking that video down for the most part. I don't know. I don't know my pieces like note for note. I have technique or kind of a feel for different things, and then I just pull them out of my bag of tricks at will. And sometimes I'll play something very similar to the way I played it before, but other times it'll be more just like how it happens in the moment. And through trial and error, I'll find different ways that I like the way it sounds, and I tend to play it that way more often. But sometimes you find sounds that you like, and you find them accidentally. Like you make a mistake. You were trying to hit one note, and you actually hit the wrong note, and then you're like, wait a minute, what was that sound? I actually like the way that sounds. And so you'll play that that way from then on. Even though it was a mistake, it was like a pleasant mistake that turned into something good. So anyway, hope that was informational for you. And remember to check out my other videos, because they are a lot of the topics that we covered here in this one broken down into even more detail. All right, take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.